think his beak might be too long.
Yeah.
We should get Sonny over. Hey, Sonny.
This is the one that
Sonny Gerasimowicz. Have you seen any of these guys?
Yeah. $1,000.
Cool. They're pretty cool.
I can't tell if it's like I always just, wanted to draw, or because when you're a kid, a lot of kids start drawing. You know what I mean? It's like one of the things you do. And then my dad showed me some stuff he did in high school that like at the time just blew my mind. It was like, it was probably like the 50s or something. So it was like flames and like, before flames became like this like disgusting thing, They actually were just on hot rods. I don't know, maybe you get a compliment or something here and there. As a kid, you don't know if someone's just encouraging you to keep going and doing whatever you're doing, even if it's bad, but you're just totally like yeah. Then graffiti started popping up, you know what I mean? This is like in West LA. It's even hard for me to remember what I felt seeing it, but it was just attractive, like seeing a person's name twice. You're like, I saw that before, like on a pole, and it's exactly the same person. That guy's, I don't even met this person, but he's been there, and now he's been there, and I don't even know who you know what I mean? The art was just like overwhelming, It was like seeing a mural, but something was more geared towards you or something. I think it was that people did it for no other reason but just to do it. It wasn't, we got a grant, or we got money, or we're gonna get this, or we're gonna advertise it. It's just like, all it was just for yourself. It was like drawing on your notebook or something. Dude, this shit's gnarly. God. This is a sketchbook. I mean, whatever, standard graffiti, like, piece book, I guess. Somebody would have someone's book and they borrowed it and it's floating around in 6th period or whatever, and I'm just like, let me fucking see that book, dude. And the pages were so completely done and airbrushed and like used markers and blending, and like, even one that was straight up pen, you're just like blown away. You just wanna, it just like, you're like, I wanna do that. Okay, this is probably one of the first books I had. This is gonna be, oh my God, this is like before I even had a tag. It was like half my name. Then I got in a crew, which was AWR, and then...
What did AWR stand for?
It stood for All Rights Reserved, but like rights, like graffiti writing, or Artwork Rebels. I think that was extremely important because you're constantly doing more artwork now, and you're doing color theory and you don't even know it. You're just like, it's graffiti, but you don't realize all the skill you're picking up and stuff like that. I got this photography book that the Sex Pistols, that Bob Gruen, he followed the Sex Pistols for a long time. I don't know why I was so blown away by the photos. They were just so good, and I just started copying every single one. This is like after graffiti, kind of. I was totally lost. I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? I was a full color Sid Vicious. It's pretty funny, whatever. This is like when it got looser and better, but it's like markers, colored pencil. Here's what I do at Cal Arts. Decided to go to Cal Arts for fine art, and I just wasn't into that at all. I just hated it, really. I dropped out after like 2 years because they wouldn't let me transfer to graphic design. So I went and bought a computer. Didn't know how to use it at all, like a Mac. I would lay out t-shirts, and I'll call it graphic design for the sake of describing it, but I was not by any means like, a trained graphic designer. This one company called Art Machine in West LA that did key art, which is movie posters, one-sheets. They were building their company, and they didn't have a lot of money, and they were taking on designers like, we're gonna train you, and we'll pay you just not that much at the beginning, so I just feel like I got lucky. So I learned more. It's more like Photoshop and, retouching and like just, you've seen movie posters. They're insane. Insanely bad most of the time. It's advertising. The goal is to make as much money as possible from that film. And it's like, if it's Mission Impossible 2, it's like, put Tom Cruise's head as big as possible and like a tiny-ass missile that you can just see at like 50 miles an hour driving by. It has nothing to do with layout or a cool poster anymore. But if you don't give a shit about that stuff, it's just like you give up, it's fine. You're like, it's a job. Let's do it.
What are some films that you worked on?
I knew that was coming. Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo. That was one of them, yeah. He's like sitting on a bench and there's like a building right here. That one particularly has a really bad head strips. Head strips is when you take a head from a photo and you put it onto you put it on another body, which is constantly what they don't give a they're like he's signed off on this head. We have to use it. And so it's like this. When I was working at the design advertising boutique, I'd gotten those emails from Spike saying, like, you know, we want to get some sketches of the Wild Things. I had a friend of a friend. My friend Julian was in a band called Liars, and he toured with Karen, and Karen to Spike. That was the connection. Spike was talking, I think, to Julian about he wasn't quite getting the right sketches for, you know, for the Wild Things. You know what I mean? He's like, I think, but I don't know. But anyways, he wanted to find somebody else to sort of draw it, and then I got like an email just saying like, you know, maybe you could, you know, I heard Julian said you might be able to sort of have something to offer with the characters. The first thing that I'd sent him to get interested though were like these pictures of like, I'd never think that I was drawing a bear, but it ended up looking like a big grizzly bear, and it was just kind of really just like, I don't know, maybe like had hangovers or something, you know, whatever. Had more human emotions. So I drew those on my own, and that's what I sent to Spike to say, like, this is kind of what I'm doing right now. And I don't even know if I made the connection of, like, these are big fuzzy animals, and those are these things, or, you know, I just sent what I wanted to draw at the time. He saw the sketches I sent him. Now he wants to just me do that with his script. And they were still really tight in the beginning. You know, some of them I was trying to like render them out and do all this stuff. And then as soon as I just started like doing really quick, crazy ones, they came out way better. The one thing about Spike too is that like, you've been drawing it for 12 hours, one drawing, and you've drawn one on a napkin, he will judge it exactly the same amount of time. It doesn't matter how it's rendered. It's like the idea. And I was doing drawings, and they're like, Maurice wants to talk to you on the phone. He wants to know who the fuck's drawing his drawings, which you're like, duh. And you're like, fine, whatever, you know, I have no idea anything about like what his real personality's like. If he's gonna be like, well, you know, I drew this book as an artist, as a child, and I just hope it helps children, you know, or what? He gets in the phone, he's like, yeah, well, so what's your name? What's your last name? And I'm like, Sonny Gerasimowicz, you know, and he's like, what is that? He just had no idea who was drawing his characters. Like, if it was some person that draws greeting cards, or if it was like someone that does cartoons or animated, like, no idea. I was like, I don't draw for a living. I've been sort of protecting it or something. I just sold out and did movie posters for 5 years. And then like we talked about some other things, and somehow he just finally like loosened up, and he's like, all right, well, great. Let's talk about these drawings. These are pretty cool. I like these drawings. It's just really great. I was just like, it's just the way he is. He's so straight up about everything, and it's so valuable. It's amazing. You're just like, oh my God, I'm working on the right project. I'm just trying to get him close to some kind of live action version in the movie, like translated. I'm not trying to do his drawings at all. There's one right there. Like when we originally went over the script with Spike and he was describing what the movie's about and how he wanted to do the characters, he definitely talked more about how individual they were and where they came from and what their inspiration was and what makes them up and how they relate to each other. And it probably took up like 90% of the whole description of each character. It wasn't like, does Carol have feathered pants or are they scaled pants? And he'd be like, I don't know. I never really, you know, it's not really like the main concern. After we started doing the sketches, developing the characters and things like that, it kept moving into the next step, you know, which is like going to the effects houses and making the creatures and stuff like that. My vote was with Henson because that's what they do, is like live action puppets. It's like, if they can get one of the most famous personalities out of a green sock with 2 white little balls on top, bring that to these things, we'll be good.
What was going on with the suit for Alexander? What wasn't working? How that whole process changed of you getting into the suit?
How I became inside Alexander?
Yeah.
Well, the actor that was inside of Alexander, she was like really well-trained, like I think theater actor and like sort of dancer performer type. Catherine Keener and like Peter Elliott were kind of like kept describing what type of character it was, and her performance was just kind of not going in that direction, you know. I think Keener had already started like thinking about this. She would use me as an example of the character that Alexander was, like maybe because I was negative or something all the time, I don't know. I feel like she proposed the idea or something when I wasn't around, and then Spike had called me and said, like, how are the rehearsals and things like that, and I was like, dude, I don't know. And he's like, what about you get in the suit, you know, what about you? He was cutting like a million corners in a smart way, I believe. I know the character already. I designed the character, like, I'm short. He knows that if I would have gotten the suit, I wouldn't be crying and getting out of it. Like, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I'd stick it out even if I couldn't act. And I was like, I think we can do it enough because the face is going to be done in post and the voice is done by Paul Dano. And I wasn't the entire thing. I was like this element. And it's like, are you serious? Because then I'll answer the question seriously. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's try it. After that, it was like him and Keener kind of coaching me. If anyone's going to make it happen or help me do it, that's going to do it. They'd have to suit everybody up, get them all in this special location in a warehouse to do a couple scenes for me. Like 2 run-throughs or something. Like, that was insanely stressful because not only have you never been on a set before acting ever, but let's just wrap him up in a suit so he can't see or do anything and like tell him to be like run around here and throw this dirt clod at that guy. And then like when he's like, hey, Alexander, you've got to be standing next to him ready for that cue and just like, you're like, dude, I'm fucked. Your opinions are welcome if you're working on the film in any department. And obviously, you have to have an opinion if you're doing the drawings for the creatures. I'd literally maybe have the suit on and the head off and like, Sonny, how does Carol look in this shot? Or what should we do with this? So all my jobs definitely overlapped. Watching everybody else, the way they approach stuff, like KK or Spike, the idea of what they were doing was way up front more than anything else. It's like, okay, is that effect gonna help us tell the story we're trying to tell? It's not like, is this the best effect we can get right now? And it's like, that's probably one of the most valuable things that I probably learned on it was, if you have a good idea, believe in it and push it. Trying to figure out what someone else wants is like the worst way to do it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it comes out stiff and bad and like, I think this is what they want, you know? It's like, just, I don't know, just do your version of it. I don't know, getting bad or what? Does it look like kind of like a olivey skin? Sick.